Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the Final Fantasy XII Ultima Project here, where last time, after doing a little bit of the carving and stuff down at the bottom, we eventually went and got some good visual elements by getting these drums drawn out and these little kind of areas coming down. And I'm thinking rather than go and block out any more kind of major areas, I feel like I kind of want to stagger this a little bit this time. So I'll have kind of want to go and do a little bit of a detailing kind of session today. So kind of figure out and finish out these drums over here, and then maybe next time we'll go and add some more actual big elements on this, just so we're not doing all of the blocking out followed by all of the detailing, so we're staring at the same thing over and over and over. So in order to do this, what I've already done is I've already kind of drawn out the diagram on one of these guys, and haven't on the other yet. So we're kind of ready to go at this point. There will be more going on this as well, but I'm gonna put those off on the side for now. So what's going on with these drums is these drums are set into, really they're going to be 6 inset areas inside. You can see these areas here are the ones that get inset in, and then there's 6 areas with the details. They're kind of like a bas relief on the outside there, as you can see on the edge here. So in order to do that, all I did is you find the center on the top and bottom, and first thing you do is draw a line straight across. You just do a big plus, bam, bam. Now this is a clock, so then you go and find, once you get those cardinal directions in, you can then equally space 2 more in between that. And once you get say 1 over here and 1 over here, you can then just take a straight edge, draw that from the line through your center line, and that'll give you the other side as well. So you don't need to find all of them. You just need to find a couple on that side, a couple on this side, trace across, bam. And to get vertical lines going up on this, again, I like my engineering scale. It's triangle, it's kind of inset. So if I want to stick this on, it just wants to naturally be vertical. It doesn't want to go to the side because, as you can see, it's the shape on here, it will want to hold this thing in place. So I can then just kind of take each of these points, go vertical, voop, 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 and that gave everything we want on this. So, and then once we kind of figure out where the big main areas are, then we can just kind of fill in the little filigree things on the side. So to begin with, there's going to be a little bit of carving. There's actually going to be a little bit of, I'm looking at a little bit of sculpting actually going on this wood, which you normally don't think of the wood on the sculpting side of things. The problem is all of these little filigree kind of areas are just so dang small that I'm not going to be able to really get much of anything in here. I can't really get you, even trying to get one of the handheld whatever things kind of in here to kind of carve out these areas here, like the chisels or whatnot. It's almost going to be too small for that to get it really well. So what I'm planning on doing is all these kind of little inset areas up here, top, down, all that inside here. I'm just going to be taking one of these. It's the kind of a bead bit for the sculptor. I'm just going to push into this thing and do this kind of inset those that way. So if you've ever hit a piece of pine with a hammer before, you know when it's like hammering a nail or something, you know it's soft. It's a soft enough wood that it will indent kind of nicely that way. So with a little bit of force, I can just push these areas in, and with this I can get a really, really small kind of nice detail in that. Only problem is it's going to take quite a bit of time to do, so a lot of this is going to be showing you roughly how it's done on camera, and a lot of this is going to be done off camera to kind of finish this off, so be prepared for that. But while we're here, might as well start doing this on camera. Now, I haven't actually drawn out what's going on the bottom yet. I have better views than this as well, which I haven't downloaded. So when we get to the bottom part, I'm going to disappear for a second, come back, we'll have a new image on the side, and I can get that going. And the top, kind of that dome piece, I've not cut that yet, but I can just throw the same hole saw on the drill press there, cut one of those out, then we can just kind of carve that. Glue that on here and carve that dome part to work. So not worried about that yet. And thankfully, these insets, these main ones here, are pretty much the right size for the smaller of the drum sanders to go through. So I'm hoping that this works out really well on that front. And then actually, as I'd mentioned before, you never want to create more work for yourself. What I haven't done yet is I can take this and I can just trace where these lines, now that I know where these lines kind of are, I can just go and mark exactly where these things start. So let me just do this real quick before I do anything to this first piece, just to make life easier for the second part, or when I get to the other side. That said, I will throw out, I have no idea how my upload schedule is going to work after this one goes up, because I do have my race coming up this weekend, and with that, I'm still planning on videotaping the thing and putting a video out for that, so that will take priority over everything on this. So it might be till like the end of the following week before the next video on this goes out after this part. Plus, this alone is just going to take time to do. So be warned on that. The upload is going to be a little weird, but once we get going again, this will then become the priority. But okay, I have at least this notched out into the 12 points. It's not really that anymore, so let's go ahead, get the camera somewhere where it might be somewhat useful for both you and me to kind of see what we're doing. And thankfully, because this thing is, you only really see about maybe 60-70% of this. If one of these sides winds up looking a little funky, we can just hide that towards the back of this thing. So I'm going to do all the sides, and I'll have the best one showing, and whatever looks the worst can all just kind of go on the back, because we like how that works. All right, here we go. Really all we kind of need for that now is just, only main trick is make sure it kind of goes down nice and straight. And we just do this 5 more times over. I feel like this one is not as straight. It doesn't have to go super deep in. Let's go ahead and do one more on camera, then I'll disappear for a little bit. We'll come back with this part done, and we'll move on to the next step. Once again, just trying to stay straight. Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind that. So I'm going to go finish off these last couple, and I'll be right back. All right, and as you can see, I've now finished carving the rest of those guys out. And now comes the really, really time-consuming part of just kind of pushing in all these little reliefs here. Now again, this is clay tool. I forget exactly what it's called, the ball sculptor thing, but they come in a whole bunch of different sizes. I'm actually using the smallest size I can right now. And all it's going to be is taking inside, if you can see any of these kind of lines, it's going to be pushing these things in. And all it's going to do is give the paintbrush something to kind of go up against when I get into the painting phase of things. So I'm not going to be doing too much of this on camera. A, it's going to be very time consuming to kind of get all this in and done. And B, I kind of want to be doing this without my glasses on, so I can just kind of use my nearsightedness to really kind of get in and do this. But all it is just pushing this until, if I can take the glasses off, any kind of large area we have there, you kind of want to make sure it's smooth looking, but it will give a little bit of a relief in here. And that's really all we need. We don't want that much. We just want that little bit of something. We want this to be kind of the main event. So just kind of getting a few of these little spots in. And we'll do the rest off camera when we see how nicely, or not nicely, this actually turns out. Again, this is just kind of my first idea on doing this. It may... Sometimes ideas don't necessarily pan out well in the end, but... You know, let me do at least a section of this kind of on my own. See how it works out so we don't just go down a bad path on camera. And I'll meet you back when I'm partway through this. All right, well, I'm back, and that was a bit of an adventure. So, tried using this guy, pushing in, and I guess I have done that before, but I realized last time I did that, just kind of the engraving by pushing in, I was doing that on, I think it was either basswood or balsa wood pieces, which are softer than the pine. This was just, it's still a soft wood, but it's a little bit harder, and it really wasn't coming out very neat on this. It was kind of lumpy, kind of hard to get it nice and smooth and good, so we're going to say X-nay on that. So next we went with the hand chisel, trying to get this guy in here to do it. And this wound up being just a little bit too big. These pieces are just a little bit too small to really effectively get you out. So I did that in combination with a knife, kind of score the outside of the edges, try to flick it out, try to get out with this. And although it was working, it would take about, between the two of these guys, probably about 4 hours or so to do the two of these guys and get them done. So it was going to take a long time to do, and it was kind of gouging out. It wasn't really smooth, wasn't really nice. And from there, I realized I do have an engraver bit, or I think I have a couple of these things actually, because I have like 3 sets of Dremel stuff, because I'd lose something by a set, and all of a sudden I realize I find the stuff, and there's my set. So I have the engraver bit, and this actually is working A, a lot faster, and B, it's getting it a much smoother on here. And I can do a lot of the big stuff, then just like very tiny corners like down here, I can then just kind of do with the knife to get those sharp like 90-degree angles or whatnot. But in general, this guy is going to get the job done a whole lot quicker and a whole lot neater than I could otherwise do. So as an idea on this, I'm sorry if my head gets in here, but much easier without the glasses on. you can see that kind of gets me what I'm looking for. And I'm hoping I did that on camera, but that'll kind of get me what we're going for on this. Yeah, I know I'm saying we're doing all this kind of detail stuff today, but I'm going to be doing a lot of this detail stuff off camera. So I just want to get this thing done off camera. It's going to be easier. It's going to save a lot of time. And then that'll give us some time to go and finish off these guys, because these guys need quite a bit of work to do as well. So I'll meet you back when this guy's done, and we'll get on to the next step. All right, so here we go. So you can see I got a decent chunk of the carving kind of here done. Haven't done everything yet, and it's because I realize I can do the rest of this kind of carving after this session goes out and goes live and whatnot. There's still a lot of stuff I want to get done during this session here. And all of a sudden, Thursdays pop up pretty quick. So what I did on top of this, you can see we're a little different. I found 2 more pieces of the 1/2-inch wood here. These were actually base trims. I cut them out with the same hole saw size the other, glued that on, and bam, this is now going to become the dome you can see on top there. And if you look at the side there for the height-wise, you can see the distance between kind of the top of the arch and that last piece there. Mine's being about the same size as this whole thing going up. So this kind of brings us right into that range. And we're going to go and see if we can dome this a little bit. So I can either do this, there are a couple different sanders I could use, but again, I have the Dremel here and I'm kind of all set up for this. So we're just gonna Dremel this out. Let's see if I can put this camera in easel place. And with that, I'm gonna stop talking because I'm probably gonna be speeding. All right, and there we go. And as you can see, we're not perfect yet. I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking, but that gets us pretty much to what we want this to be. That actually didn't take that long to do. So now after this, that's not the piece. Still have this guy we need to finish. Still a decent chunk more we got to do on that before this starts actually looking good. So hang on one sec while I get all of this stuff cleaned up and vacuumed up and nice and neat. Then we'll go and start working on finishing that part up. So be back in a second. All right, and with that part kind of now in there, next step of the way is to kind of get, if you look on the side over here, there are a couple little flutes that go down the side of this shaft. So we're going to go ahead and put that thing on. And also in the meantime, I went and I finally glued this into place because there's no reason not to have that glued into place. That said, I'm not going to physically attach this onto here until I finish actually carving all the stuff on here so I can manipulate it, move it around and whatnot. But anyway, for this, I still have some pieces of basswood. I have a nice piece of basswood here. It's 3/16 by 1/32 piece. And this is actually left over from college. So I've had a pretty decent sized bundle of these guys from college. So it's been sitting in my place for the last literal 20 years, just waiting to be used for something like this. And we're gonna go cut that down to a 1-inch size there. And I wanna go ahead and cut this actually in half, which is, I was about to say easier said than done, but that actually wasn't hard. And so there we go on that. I can take, that's not the right sandpaper. Let's use the not so gritty paper just to kind of smooth that off. in the end, I'm going to need 4 of these guys. So there's 2 of them. Let's go get myself another 2. All this was actually somehow wound up being exactly 1 inch. So go me on getting that number to be 100% normal number. Wasn't expecting that. But, yep. Alright, got that. Let's go see if we can cut you in half. I'm sorry if my finger is blocking the way. Again, I'm right-handed, and that's just, that is just going to be the way it's going to be. I've tried being ambidextrous before, but it just doesn't work for me. Okay, so we have that. I want to give a little chamfer on the edge. So we give a little chamfer on the edge there. Give a little chamfer on the edge. Same on these. You can think of just getting a little kind of point on there. Boop. And then these guys just get glued on to the side there. And that's all that is. So it's nice when we get something that's kind of nice and easy and don't really need to think about it. I'm going to get this all over my fingers. But if that happens, that happens. It's... Whoa, hello. Okay, we want this to be as straight down as possible. So we got a little bit of that going. Again, I don't want to go all the way up because that's going to wind up starting, bam, right there. So I have my line I need to go to, and we're sticking to it. Okay, so the easy one is now done. The others actually need to kind of follow suit on that. And that's just kind of looking at it and hoping that we are, not going to say hoping, I should say trusting that we are exactly where we need to be. And as far as I can tell, there are 4 of them on here. So that's why I'm just doing these 4. And thankfully this excess glue that we have on here will be primed over and whatnot. It will work with primer on that. It'll stick. Or at least I haven't had an issue so far in that regard. Alright, that does that. I think this is actually slightly bigger than it needs to be, but if you're going to do an element, I'd rather have an element be slightly bigger than slightly smaller, because that way you can kind of see there's something going on that, and at least gives you a visual. If you do it too small, you kind of lose the visual. And I could always just kind of, I can sand that off actually. The glue is going to be hard enough on here that we can sand that off. So rather than cut video one more time, let me go pull up my own image over here, and we're going to go ahead and do some more Dremel stuff, because we want enough Dremel stuff. We got to now form this guy and the base. So let me slide some things over in my computer, which is located at least a little bit away, so I don't get dust over everything. And we need to shrink this thing quite a bit. You know, I probably could have used a pencil sharpener for that last one. I'm laughing, but it's actually kind of true. Let's see. So now we just want to get a couple of rings on this. Maybe what I should do is actually give myself a little bit of a visual to go off of. I can do this without a visual, but sometimes just having something drawn on there just makes life a little bit easier. We have that there. There we go, a little something down there. All right, now, blade itself is still too thick to make the mark, so I'm going to do about a 45 or so degree angle so we get just the edge of this to kind of cut in there. I'm going to take that off. We're going to swap onto another one of these guys and just kind of soften up the edge on this. And the other side. And that kind of gives us this little missile-looking thing that we have going on. We can now stick that on the bottom, and there we go. We have kind of a little bit we have going on there. The elements are a little bigger on this than I think they are on the side there, but it actually means a little more visible. You can see what's going on. You can understand what's going on. And I think that's as far as we're going to be going today on this. And thankfully, this is one of the few sessions we can have a direct comparison between. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way to give a better visual back here. We can give a direct comparison between where we started and where we wound up. So keep in mind, we started with this, and we wound up with that guy there. So definitely have some progress going on here. Let's go and pop you on top. Can I still get you to kind of hold things in place? That would be awesome. Doesn't want to hold as well anymore. Cool. Well, I tried. We'll see how this works when I make a thumbnail for all this. But yeah, no, that is kind of where we are at this point. How about I just do, yeah, come on, at least have you hold yourself. There we go. Something can hold itself. This one can't. But no, that's where we are now. And next time, I think I'm going to make, rather than do detail-y stuff, we're going to do kind of more form things, whether I build up or I can do the swords and the Glauser ring, whatever it's called that goes on the side. I'm not sure which. We're either going to do one or the other. And yeah, we'll have at least more form stuff going on. And I may or may not have this guy carved out as well. But again, I have my race coming up this weekend, so figure no video going out on Saturday. I'm going to be sleeping Saturday night really early because I have to wake up at like 3 in the morning to get ready for this race. So I'm going to be missing a day for building stuff. And like I said, I do plan on videotaping the race. So that will take priority, getting that video out over anything here. So hang tight. More videos will be coming out. It just might be a little bit of time before one does. It might be another week before the next one comes out, but it'll be worth it. And until then, and until that next time comes, enjoy.